Alright, so CBR600 1989, the CBR600 F3. I will say this bike is a lot faster than I was expecting it to be. You know, 498 being a carbureted motorcycle, I wasn't expecting the bike to have quite as much get up as it does. This thing does not really want to go slow. You rev it out in first gear and you're already going like 45 miles an hour, but don't really have too much power underneath 7,000 RPM. That Yoshimura sounds really good though. It's not too loud, it still has a baffle in it, but it's a very comfortable riding position. Like, immediately get on the bike and you feel very, I guess, comfortable. It's very unintimidating to step onto. And this motorcycle, I can definitely see it being a very beginner bike and a motorcycle in which someone with not too much experience can step on. But I will say, it would require a lot of experience to master. This bike has a very low entry to getting onto, but to master the bike and actually use it for what it is, I mean, we're talking, you know, a 600 full race bike. So yeah, it has a lot of potential to grow on it. I don't think you could ever get bored on this motorcycle. I find that 600s are most likely going to be a very sweet spot for a track bike, while leader bikes, just because of that down low torque and everything, they're very comfortable and easy to ride on the streets. Most people don't talk about that when you talk about leader bikes and bigger motorcycles, is the torque down low and the easiness of acceleration is really what makes those bikes a little bit more easier and livable on the streets, even though, I will say this now, they're not as fun as motorcycles like this, because the second you rev out in RC51, you're going illegal speeds. Even on this bike, it's no slouch, but you can at least rev it out and shift it a little and get it into some corners without getting super in trouble. So it's a very confidence inspiring ride. It is a very easy ride, and the approach of the handlebars is very comfortable. I do find that once you get up into some speeds, it becomes much more comfortable. You know, I find myself putting a little bit of forward pressure on my wrists at these slower speeds, but still, I mean, it's a very approachable motorcycle, and with any sport bike, that's kind of what you expect. Very flickable, very throwable, and a very nice just riding experience. I talked to a gentleman with a F2 CBR the other day, and he's like, I've rode this thing 45,000 miles, I've rode it everywhere. I spoke with another guy with the Smokin' Joe F3, he's like, yeah, I got 45,000 miles on my bike too. It's like, people who own these things tend to ride them, which is awesome to see, because that's what they're all about. Obviously, when you have a bike this rare, sometimes you don't really want to ride it all too much every day and put that kind of mileage on a motorcycle. But hey, at the end of the day, it is a bike, and they bought it, and they're enjoying it for what it is. For me, you guys can probably guess if you watch the channel, I'll ride it a few times a year, put a couple 100 miles on it, because why have a bike if you're not going to ride it? But never do too much crazy mileage with the bike. If you did hear there's a little bit of breakup in the carburetor. When I first bought the motorcycle, it was quite bad. Right now, for the last little bit, I've tested a product called AMSOIL Hot Shot. I put Hot Shot into the tank. It's kind of like a cleaner as well as a fuel enrichener, I guess you could say. You can use it with just regular use if you really wanted to. You don't have to necessarily have it just to clean your system, but just to maintain your system. But if you do add a few extra ounces, follow directions on the bottle, connect as a carburetor cleaner or a fuel injection cleaner. This bike is carbureted, which is the reason why it breaks up. But I have noticed a significant difference over the last probably 20 miles, 30 miles that I've rode it, like the motorcycle was bogging down quite a bit. Like it's still a little bit boggy, but like before it would just fall on its face completely when you try to rev it in this RPM range. It has cleared up significantly. If the owner of this motorcycle had just put that in when he parked it and ran the motorcycle, most likely it wouldn't have needed a carb rebuild. Now I am glad that this product did its job for what I wanted it. I wanted it to clean the motorcycle out a little bit, just enough so I can ride it for the rest of the season. I will clean out the carbs and just do it the proper way, but if you're in a tight spot or if you just want your bike to run a little bit cleaner, well, honestly I think it's a really solid product and I've enjoyed the results so far. Probably will still pull the carbs off the bike, do it the proper way. This just allows me to ride it for the couple weeks I have left of this season and see everything else I need to do. It's just such a simple bike. I love just having a cable clutch, carburetors, no ABS, traction control, stability control, just nothing. Most of my bikes are like that. And I love motorcycles with a modern day tech, but there's just something to say about a motorcycle that's just so simple.
But there's one thing I need to interrupt this video with. We have officially dropped these rotary hats. You guys have been seeing me wear these for almost a year now, and they're officially live on the Vintage Racing Club website.
When you're riding a motorcycle like this, most inline 4s are like this, most 600s are going to be like this, you really got to rev them out. Realistically, I should be one gear down. This is kind of like the ideal riding RPM. You do have to do valve checks on motorcycles more often than you do a car, and that is because they like to be revved out more. Motorcycles want to be in a higher rev range, and this 600 is no exception. See, it's just a little bit of breakup around this RPM. You can kind of hear it. Not sure how well that translates onto my microphone and my helmet, but I can hear it for sure. See, it's a little bit of just breakup, but once I do open her up, she does enjoy to just be revved out. It revs out very smoothly. It was falling on its face a little bit before, and now it's kind of cleaned its throat out a little bit over the last 50 or so miles. I think next year I'll also do a coolant flush on this bike. It did look pretty new to me, and I was told it wasn't done too long ago, but it won't hurt. I've always found 600s to be a very nice class of motorcycle. It's not quite, you know, as wicked as my R6 was. This bike is much more enjoyable to ride than the R6. I found the R6 to be, you know, a lot more race bike than what I had thought it was, and that for me really made it an awesome experience. But at the end of the day, that bike was a fair amount more compromised than this simple bike is here. That's not even full throttle. I'm just going super easy with it, just rolling through a couple gears. She's a quick bike. I do notice a little bit of instability in the handlebar. Perhaps it needs its wheels balanced in the front. Perhaps it needs a steering stabilizer. Sure, it could benefit from it, but it's an old bike. It's not really the biggest deal in the world. It's not sending itself into a tank slapper or anything. Just, you do notice a little bit of shaking. That's what I'm talking about. You know, these things are just so fast for the streets. Simple just turns like that. Of course, you know, going the speed limit here, but could go much faster if I wanted to around those corners and get myself into a lot of trouble if there was a law enforcement officer sitting somewhere. But you just rode through a couple of gears and it's just going. You know, people are always after the shiniest and fastest thing, but this is such a phenomenal bike for what it is. I'd honestly love to just have an F2 or an F3 non-Smokin' Joe edition to just ride the absolute piss out of. The only thing about this bike I'm worried about is the plastics. You know, I don't think I'd be able to really replace the plastics too easily. I'm sure, you know, I could make the standard F3 plastics work, paint them in the color scheme, order the graphics, but if I don't have to deal with that, I'd rather prefer that. I really am intrigued into getting an F4i. I think I'd really like that motorcycle, and I've thought about getting a 600 track bike for a number of years, and you know, perhaps the CBR is going to be the way. The CBR just seems to have creeped into my thing here. I was really thinking about getting an R6, but might have to get an F4i. Unfortunately, the roads here are just very, very open, straight. Even my favorite roads, you know, you get one or two curves and then straight to straight roads in this part of Wisconsin. The other part is very twisty, windy, but I just don't have the time to take this bike there today, unfortunately. I just took her out to a Cars and Coffee, and I wanted to give a couple of riding impressions afterwards. It's been a while since we've taken a bike out. See, just a little bit of bogging right there. I haven't taken a motorcycle out because I just got a new helmet, and I have just hooked up my new setup to my new helmet. I broke my other one, so I couldn't even use the old one. I think the Hawk has a little bit better handling than the CBR does, or at least it's more confidence inspiring for someone who doesn't quite know what they're doing. AKA me, to an extent. But you know, the CBR is not the biggest bike in the world either. You know, if you were a little bit shorter or not quite as strong to hold up a bigger motorcycle, this CBR600 shouldn't give you any problems at all. The one thing is, I do find my mirrors to be wandering a little bit. When you hit some speed, the mirrors tend to fold in. I know my RC51 has that problem, common problem on that motorcycle. Seems like this bike has the same thing. Different mirror design, but same problem. It honestly just, you know, some motorcycles you get on, you think like, you compare it to other bikes, whatnot. Obviously for the video's sake, I try to compare some things to other bikes to help you guys perhaps understand what, you know, it might ride like, or its impressions might be like. See, there it is again. More mirror just folding in a little bit. Perhaps I can tighten down the place where it meets. I know that's how I solved my RC51 problem. I took it to Cars and Coffee, and I was just standing on the other side of the road waiting for my buddy Chris. And so many people were looking at this bike. Just walking around, I know I saw just a lot of people taking pictures and just admiring it, which is really cool. I brought the Gold Star out last time to Cars and Coffee, and I know I had a few people walking up to me. Most people didn't know what it was, but this thing gets a lot of attention from people who don't even know motorcycles because it's just a pretty looking bike. Anyways, that's a quick little ride. I'm gonna end up taking her home. Couple impressions, first thoughts of owning the motorcycle. Hopefully many more miles to come. Great adventures with this bike in the future. Many more videos to come in the future. Subscribe to the channel if you did enjoy so you don't miss any future videos. Leave a like. Help support the channel and get this video out to more people to enjoy it. As always, I'll see you guys in the next one.